Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into a really significant chapter, Mark chapter 15. It's just packed with these intense moments, one after another.
It really is. The pacing in this chapter is incredible. It covers this incredibly critical sequence of events, all crammed into basically one day.
And it kicks off right away, first thing in the morning. You've got the chief priests, the elders, teachers of the law, the whole
The
Sanhedrin.
whole council, yeah. They've reached their decision.
Exactly. And that decision leads pretty quickly to them, well, binding Jesus, leading him away, and handing him straight over to Pilate, the Roman governor.
And that handover is key, isn't it? The religious authorities have done their part. Now they're bringing in Rome, the political, the judicial power.
Pilate, he doesn't waste any time. He asks the big question almost immediately. Are you the king of the Jews?
And Jesus' answer, it's short, but it confirms everything, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is, as you say.
But then, the chief priests jump in. The text says they accused him of many things, like a flood of accusations.
Yeah, just piling it on. And you can almost feel Pilate's confusion here.
Right. He turns back to Jesus like, aren't you going to answer? Look at all this stuff they're saying.
He seems to expect some kind of defense, anything.
But nothing.
Mm.
Jesus just stays silent. Mark really emphasizes that. But Jesus still made no reply. And then it says, Pilate was amazed.
You can see why. That silence, facing those kinds of charges from those people, it clearly struck Pilate as unusual.
Definitely not the typical reaction from someone fighting for their life.
No. So then the focus shifts a bit to the crowd.
Right. This custom they had during the feast, the Passover. The governor would release one prisoner, whoever the people asked for.
And this is where Barabbas comes into the picture. Mark tells us he was in prison with insurrectionists, people who'd actually committed murder during an uprising.
So not just some minor offender, a serious figure associated with violence.
Exactly. And the crowd comes up, expecting the usual custom. Give us our prisoner.
Pilate seems to see an opportunity, or maybe a way out. He asks them, okay, do you want me to release this guy, the king of the Jews?
He's sort of offering Jesus as the choice, maybe hoping they'd go for it.
And Mark gives us this little window into Pilate's mind, saying he asked this because he knew the chief priests handed Jesus over out of envy.
That's a crucial bit of insight. Pilate gets the motive. It's jealousy, it's rivalry, not just, religious law for them.
But the chief priests, they're not having it. They immediately start working the crowd. The text says they stirred up the crowd to ask for Barabbas instead.
Actively manipulating the situation.
And it works. Pilate puts it to them again, really starkly. Okay, so what do I do with him? The one you're calling the king of the Jews.
And the answer comes back just instantly, loud. Crucify him.
Pilate pushes back a bit, asks, why? What's he actually done wrong? He seems to be looking for a proper reason, a legal basis.
But there isn't one offered, is there? The crowd just gets louder. Crucify him. Any sense of reason is gone.
It's just mob rule at this point.
Pretty much. And Mark tells us Pilate just wanted to satisfy the crowd. So he lets Barabbas go.
And then he has Jesus flogged, which was a horrific punishment in itself.
A brutal preliminary step. And then hands him over to be crucified. It's this awful collision of politics, religious animosity, and just crowd pressure.
Pilate knew the priests were envious, but still gave in to the crowd.
Exactly. Appeasement won over, whatever sense of justice he might have had.
So then the soldiers take charge. They lead Jesus away into the palace courtyard, the praetorium.
And they call the whole company together. This isn't just a couple of guards. It's a big group gathered for this specific purpose.
And what they do next is just deliberate mockery aimed right at that king title.
Oh, absolutely. They put a purple robe on him, royal color.
And twists of thorns into a crown, jamming it on his head. A painful parody of royalty.
And the taunt, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Dripping with sarcasm.
It goes beyond words, though. They start hitting him repeatedly with a staff on the head, spitting on him.
And then that final, cruel act, kneeling down, pretending to pay homage, like subjects before a king, just pure humiliation.
After they've had their fill of mocking him, they pull off the purple robe, put his own clothes back on him,
and lead him out towards Golgotha.
On the way, there's this encounter. Simon of Cyrene, just a guy coming in from the country.
And Mark adds that detail, the father of Alexander and Rufus, which kind of suggests his sons were known to the early church, the first readers. Makes it feel very real.
Yeah, grounds it. And this poor guy, just passing by, gets compelled to carry the cross.
Pulled into this horrific event completely unexpectedly.
They finally get to the place, Golgotha.
Which Mark translates for us. the place of the skull.
And there they offer him wine mixed with myrrh, which was apparently sometimes used as a kind of painkiller.
Right, to dull the senses a bit before the ordeal.
But Jesus refuses it, doesn't take it.
He faces what's coming without that relief.
And they crucified him, just stated like that. And immediately the soldiers are focused on something else entirely.
Yeah, dividing up his clothes, casting lots, basically gambling to see who gets what piece. It's such a jarring contrast.
The ultimate suffering happening right there. And the rolling dice for his tunic, Mark even gives us the time.
It was the 3rd hour, so about 9 a.m.
And that charge, the reason for the execution, it's put up for everyone to see. The written notice of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews."
Making it public, this is why he's dying, according to Rome.
And he's crucified between two robbers, one on each side, placed right among common criminals.
The suffering doesn't stop there, though. It's amplified by how people react.
Oh yeah, people walking by just start hurling insults, shaking their heads, mocking him about the temple.
So you're the one who's going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, huh? Come on down from the cross and save yourself. Just pure scorn.
And the religious leaders, the chief priests, and teachers of the law, they're there too, mocking him among themselves.
Their words reveal so much about their perspective. He saved others, they're saying. But look, he can't save himself. If he's really the Christ, the King of Israel, let him come down now from that cross. Then we'll see, then we'll believe.
Demanding a sign, even now, rooted in this complete disbelief that the Messiah could possibly suffer like this.
And it wasn't just them. Mark says even the men crucified with him were insulting him, heaped insults on him.
Just attacked from every single direction. Total isolation.
A scene of just profound abandonment and universal condemnation, really.
Then something else happens.
Yeah.
Something cosmic. Around noon, the 6th hour.
Darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour, so until about 3 p.m.
3 hours of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the day. Unnatural.
It's often seen as this, cosmic sign underlining the immense gravity of what's happening.
And at the end of that period, at the 9th hour, Jesus cries out. Loudly.
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani.
Which Mark translates, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
That cry, quoting Psalm 22, it expresses just this unimaginable depth of suffering, maybe even a sense of separation. It's hard to even fathom.
And some people nearby, they misunderstand it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they twist it deliberately. Listen, he's calling for Elijah.
And someone actually runs, gets a sponge soaked in wine vinegar, puts it on a stick, and holds it up to him.
But even that comes with a kind of cynical remark. Leave him alone now. Let's see if Elijah does come to take him down. A mix of, I don't know, curiosity and skepticism.
Yeah, strange moment.
And then, the end. With a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last.
And right at that moment, Mark tells us another significant thing happens. The curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom.
That massive curtain separating the Holy of Holies, the most sacred place.
Torn from top to bottom suggests it wasn't ripped by human hands. Something divine, maybe signaling a change, new access.
And then this really powerful reaction from, well, an unlikely source, a Roman centurion.
The officer in charge, right there, standing in front of Jesus, he hears the cry, sees how he died.
And he says, surely this man was the Son of God.
I mean, think about that. A Roman soldier, a Gentile. He sees something in the way Jesus died, hears that cry, and makes this incredible declaration, something that religious leaders completely miss.
It's such a contrast to all the mockery and disbelief we've just heard. His insight is just startling.
It really is. And Mark is careful to point out who else was witnessing all this, though from a distance.
The women. He names Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the Younger, and Joses, and Salome.
And he adds that context, these women had followed him and cared for his needs back in Galilee. They were long-term, devoted followers.
And it wasn't just them. Many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem were also there. They stuck with it, witnessing when many others, especially the male disciples, were scattered or hiding.
Their presence is this constant thread of faithfulness through the whole ordeal.
So evening starts to fall. It's preparation day, the day before the Sabbath. Time is running out before sundown.
And another unexpected person steps up, Joseph of Arimathea.
Identified as a prominent member of the council. Wait, the same council that condemned Jesus.
The very same group. But Mark adds that Joseph himself was waiting for the kingdom of God. So despite his position, he had this hope.
And he acts incredibly bravely here, goes boldly to Pilate and asks for Jesus' body. That was risky.
It's definitely risky.
Yeah.
Handling the body of an executed criminal, especially one condemned for treason against Rome. And Pilate is apparently surprised.
Yeah, surprised to hear that he was already dead. Crucifixion often took much longer.
So Pilate checks. He calls the centurion, the one who is right there, to confirm Jesus really is dead.
Only after getting that confirmation does Pilate agree. He gave the body to Joseph.
And Joseph handles it with care, with reverence. He buys linen cloth, takes the body down.
Wraps it in the linen and places it in a tomb one cut out of rock, which probably means it was a substantial tomb, maybe his own family tomb.
Then he rolls a big stone against the entrance to seal it.
And Mark made sure to tell us who saw this happen, who saw exactly where he was laid.
Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid. The same women who watched the cross are now witnesses to the burial. They know the spot.
Wow. So we've just walked through this incredibly dense, fast-moving chapter, Mark 15, all these specific details, Pilate knowing about the envy, the soldiers' specific mockery, Simon's sons being named. What does focusing on these details tell us?
Well, I think when you look closely, you really see Mark presenting these sharply contrasting reactions to Jesus, don't you? You've got the religious elite driven by, as Mark says, envy, using politics, manipulating the crowd.
Yeah. And then Rome Pilate trying to navigate it, understanding the motive, but giving in anyway.
Yeah.
And the soldiers just carrying out orders with that added layer of brutal, specific mockery.
Right. And the crowd itself so easily swayed from one extreme to the other. But then Mark deliberately contrasts all that with these moments of unexpected insight or faithfulness.
Like the centurion.
Exactly. The Roman officer, the symbol of worldly power, is the one who sees something profound in Jesus' death and declares his identity.
While the religious leaders demanded a sign of power, like coming down from the cross.
Precisely. And then there are the women, often on the margins of society back then, but here they are, the constant faithful witnesses, following him, caring for him, watching the cross, seeing where he's buried.
So details like Simon's family or Pilate's knowledge, they kind of ground the story, but also highlight the very human, often unjust factors at play and these really diverse responses Jesus provoked even in his final hours.
It forces you, the listener, to grapple with these layers, doesn't it? Belief, unbelief, power, weakness, loyalty, betrayal, it's all right there, converging in this one day.
It absolutely does. It's an incredibly powerful narrative.
So maybe something to leave you thinking about, reflecting on Mark's account here. Why do you think Mark makes it a point that the clearest declaration of Jesus' identity in this entire chapter, surely this man was the Son of God, comes not from a disciple, not from a follower, not even from Jesus himself at this point, but from the Roman soldier overseeing his execution? What might that suggest about where true understanding, true witness, can sometimes be found?